All right, here we go. Welcome. Hello, Saber Legion. How we doing? It is another episode of Road to CombatCon, and it is going to be your host tonight, going to be myself and Melody Graham. Let me wait. I had to point that way. It's an opposite point,
Right.
so I had to point that way. Okay,
Yes.
so they can hear me. We have audio. That's good. So, Melody, you pulled me into this week. So let me you break it down what we're kind of talking about.
Yeah. So last time we had Aaron Riley in for Director's Corner, and so this week I really wanted a hands-on experience, somebody who has been a fighter for years within TSL. I wanted to give that perspective, and a lot of people might not know, but David and I really partnered up on this event. He's really running the media side of making sure that all of our technology is working, all of our beautiful photography, and all of our amazing media as far as the live streams and being able to see our families at homes, being able to see our fights and such. He's providing all of those services and organizing them. So we're really working together. There, point that way.
Yeah, it's opposite. So you're over there. So
right.
We could try a high five. Here we go.
Oh,
there it is. There it is. Okay, there we go. All right. I'll be running a lot of the media. So I talked about it on my show last night, where our media setup is going to be. We're going to try to stream as much of the tournament as we can, barring unforeseen technological issues with internet or whatever. That is the goal. We are going to attempt to record every match if possible. We cannot stream every match because we have multiple rings running. That would require a whole different setup. We are going to be able to cut between rings as we need to. So we're going to try to bring it that way. So we finish a match, we go to another match either already in progress or something like that. So we're not saying like, oh, well, Melodie's fighting, I don't know, somebody. And then it's like, oh, but, Mark Carrico and I don't know, I can't think of another name, or like Christian Kanapu are fighting in this ring. So we're going to cut away. No, we're going to try to do it where we're getting it one whole match. And when that match ends, then we would cut over to that other match. But still we're trying to record that match. And then we're also going to try to have a very, a nice multi-camera setup for the finals. So there is a good setup with commentary and everything. Commentary will be shifting throughout the weekend when we do that. So that's kind of a preview of the setup, but we're going to try to bring as much as we can, assuming the Flamingo Wi-Fi lasts for us and there's no power issues or other technological problems. So.
All right. Well, cool. Okay, so let's talk about some of the schedule real quick. So this year we're doing exotic pools and standard pools. And then I'm not sure what we're going to do yet with the women's division, but I know the 15 over, I think it's definitely going to be single limbs now. So, but a difference that we did in accordance with kind of trying to get better media coverage is on Saturday. Do you kind of want to explain Saturday afternoon and how that's going to be?
Yeah, so Saturday afternoon, we're going to be doing a lot of the eliminations for exotics and standards, as well as the finals for 50 plus and women's, as well as the finals for standard and exotics being at the end of the night. Basically to make sure that we can focus all of our attention on that one ring. We don't have to worry about cutting between rings. We can set up on multiple angles. We can have commentary running. And then that way, when you see it and you want to go back to the finals, you're not like, okay, I'm going to go to day one and I'm going to scroll and I'm going to find it, 3 hours into the stream. Here, this way, we'll have a nice 2 to 3 hour stream that is like just finals. It might even be less than that. I'm just estimating, where you're only looking at the finals events. You know what they are. You can scroll right to them. You don't have to sift through all of the other matches that it makes it difficult to navigate. We do still plan to release them separately as well, but that way it's just easier if you can't watch it live, that you have an opportunity to watch it. You can watch just the finals as an option, which is, more like hopefully going to be like the peak media experience. And the other one is more just going to be a recording of the event.
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about some of the, I know that some, fighters, and you are a fighter. I mean, I'm a mild fighter, but you're a real fighter. So
You're a fighter. It's fine.
a fighter's a fighter. That's what I tell Jared all the time.
Pretty
Fighter's a fighter.
much.
Yep. You get
You
in the ring.
step in a ring and it's regulated, you're a fighter. That's it.
Yep.
But, you know.
Absolutely. So, but I don't have as much experience as far as tournaments. In fact, TSL4 was the first women's tournament, and that was my only tournament experience other than one that we did here in Florida, Crushadica, which I was able to participate in with my staff. But what, as a fighter, are the benefits and the drawbacks of, you're fighting on Thursday or Friday, where normally there would have been the whole final spiel, and now we're moving that to being a more like, destined time where you've stopped fighting and then you have to come back on Saturday and re-engage. So what are some benefits and what are some drawbacks as a fighter?
I mean, the main benefits, and I'll say this as someone who's been to the finals, or at least the third place match, a bunch of times, for 2, 3, and 4. So the big issue with it is that you'll go through the tournament, you'll maybe get 10-minute breaks between matches and stuff like that, and then you get to the finals, and maybe there'll be 15, 20, 25 minutes. But that's all the recovery you get. You don't get any extra recovery. So literally, think of it in the case of tag team at TSL4. I went to the finals for that. You're looking at like, I don't know how many fights I fought, like 1, 2, like
CS
4,
style. So it was
4
like
maybe 5, yeah,
just to get through.
And they were CS style, and even though I wasn't fighting the full time because it's tag team, it still was a draining experience. And I think 2 of our matches went to 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. So so that's another big element of that, is that that was just so draining. I mean, so draining to the point of Exotics was right after tag team that I gassed out in my second match. I had no energy left, and I was just completely out of energy. So that's the main reason, is that you can take a break. I could fight all the way to the semifinals and then say, okay, I'm going to get at least an hour, maybe 2 hours on a Saturday, assuming I get through all of eliminations. And I'm only saying this is me as an example. It could be anybody. I'm not saying I'm guaranteed, even though I want to guarantee it. But so I get an hour or 2 to break between that. Yes, that takes up more time in your weekend. You don't get to like knock out your tournament real quick and be done, especially if you're like a one-off. I'm going to go into a tournament and say you're good enough just to do standard, and you're going to go through standard, and you're going to go all the way through. It does require you to be a little more, to break up your weekend a little bit more. You can't really plan for that night to say, I'm gonna go do these things on early Saturday evening, late Saturday afternoon. But that's, I would say, is a minor inconvenience to making sure that if you are recovered and fresh as possible for the finals, you're going to put off that much better of a show. Just from whether it be from a match against your opponent, but also from a media perspective, I'm looking at it like I want the freshest fighters possible. So if they're going to do something really cool, they are at full capacity to do something really cool, and that looks really good. So those are the primary reasons for it.
I mean, I really agree that I feel like this year we're really trying to be very health conscious. A lot of our fighters aren't as, a lot of people took time off and they're not used to the rigor of the being in the, even directors, even, counselors that come into the ring, they're not used to the rigor of the constant that we were used to probably at TSL4, right? Like, so we've been off for almost 2 years now. And so going back, I feel like it is a responsible choice for us to make sure that, people are getting fights that they want and that everyone is being as safe as possible to not push their bodies too far too.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen a couple times. I can guarantee that people are going to tire themselves out, but if we can minimize it with our planning ahead of time, that's that much better. We can make it that much easier for people. I should also mention, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. There's nothing in the chat right now, but if you have questions or anything, we're open for it. So let's see. Just a hello from Alicia. So, um,
Okay, so we've been talking about media. We've been talking about how the semifinals for the exotics and standard will be on Saturday afternoon, as well as the top four for women's and 50 over. So, and how that really benefits media, but also benefits our bodies by being able to take that small break and recover appropriately. So let's change gears a little bit into something else I really wanted to talk about. Let's talk about gear inspection. Okay.
Okay.
Let's just talk
All
about
right.
Thursday. So Thursday may not seem like the day that you should be concerned with very much for TSL, but that is very different this year. Thursday at TSL3, I think all we did on Thursday was gear inspection. And then TSL4, we had gear inspection, and then we had the women's and the 50 over tournament, and that was it. It was a smaller situation, but this Thursday is going to be a whole different situation, right? We're going to have gear. We're going to have 3 of the pools of exotics are going on Thursday, and the 15 over tournament. So Thursday is actually turning out to be a big day for the first time. So what can you tell us about gear inspection as a fighter? How can you prepare for that experience and for the CombatCon registration?
So the big things I'll say as far as registration. So we'll start with CombatCon registration. I know if you're going to CombatCon, you just saw they just sent an email that kind of gave you a map of everything that's happening. Just be prepared for walking your gear down a long hallway from the elevators. It is a walk. You will not be able to put your gear right away until you're in the room until you're registered. So that's something to keep in mind. You'll need to be registered. I know there's also a vaccination checkpoint right around the elevators is what it said as far as the map that they sent out. That's new. I'm just saying that because the information just became available yesterday. But the registration itself will be down closer to the tournament rooms. I'm assuming it's the same thing. And I usually expect to wait at least 45 minutes to an hour for something like that. Because everybody wants to do it, regardless that if there's a reduced attendance this year or something like that, there will be a line. You will wait, and what I would say is make sure you have everything in place ahead of time. So if you bought it and you got the emails that say you bought it, the receipts, right? Have a copy of them, a screenshot of them, something like that. It just saves time. I remember, I think TSL4, I waited 45 minutes. The person in front of me probably took 10 minutes, whatever the issue was, right? I went in, it took me 30 seconds. I mean, it was literally what's your name? Are you staying in the hotel? Okay, you're good to go. Here's your pass. And that was it. That's really all you should need to do. So make sure you have all that stuff in order. Don't show up expecting them to have everything, it's you need to be responsible for yourself, and the more you are, the easier that's going to be for registration, and that translates over to gear inspection as well. So you basically are looking at, with gear inspection as a fighter, have everything laid out, everything you're going to use, every blade, every hilt, even if it's not your primary, even if it's your third. I'm bringing 3 sabers myself that are not being used. And guess what? They're going to be checked regardless, because if I need to grab them in a pinch, I'm going to need to. So have everything out and ready to go. Now, are we laying out the gear, or are we having people wear the gear?
Can you actually grab a check-in form for me? You're inspecting. It's in. Okay, sorry. I'm asking my lovely assistant for help, Jared. There's going to be a different process. So when you come into the TSL room, it's going to be set up in 3 stations. And this is something we've tried out twice at the Florida Cup as well as at Karzatica. So if you travel down for those, you've seen how we do it. Basically, it's 3 separate stations. And so you'll come into the first one, and somebody will hand you a lovely piece of paper that looks like this. Okay. And it basically is similar to the one that Aaron used to give you while you were standing in line. Okay, so it's broken up into 3 sections. And so the person will give you this, and it, just has all of your information on it. It has everything from your pre-registration about what gear you pre-registered with. And so you'll take this form and you walk over to one station and you'll lay out most of your gear on the bottom, but I think we're still going to have people put on, because there's been if there's any question, obviously any gear inspector can ask you to put it on about fit. But in general, we're definitely going to have you put on your gorget and your helmet always, to make sure that they always put those on to, check. And so people check your mask, as you know, by putting, the gear inspector will put their hand on your head and shake it up and down and side to side. And what they're looking for is that it doesn't jiggle, like it doesn't go all over the place, because we want to make sure that it's obviously fitting you and it's appropriate, that you should be wearing it. If you have a motocross jacket and you don't have an additional piece, and you're saying, and you have made some modification for the clavicle protection, you'll probably have to put that on to show whatever modification. So that's basically what will happen at one station. And then you'll move to a second station, a different table, and you can do these in either order. So if you walked in the room and you picked up your paper, and the line for the gear inspection was super long and the line for the saber inspection was super short, you could just go and do saber inspection first, in any order. And then, so you'll bring your saber over to the saber inspector. And what we're looking for, a single saber, standard saber, right? They're going to basically take this. I should have been. And then we're going to we'll measure it. And right, we want to make sure that the hilt is anywhere between 12 to 16 in length, right? And then we're on the 51-inch length all over, right? So they will measure this with measuring tools. They're also going to measure the circumference of the saber to make sure that it is the heavy grade saber and no one's trying to sneak in one that's not the heavy weight. And then to make sure that we know that it has actually been inspected, that your saber has been inspected and the blade has been inspected. You didn't change it out after you got in with something else in your bag or something else like that. Not that any of us would do that, but just to make sure what they're going to do.
Nobody's ever done that.
No one's ever done that. So
we wouldn't have these rules if someone didn't do it. That's the majority of these arbitrary things people say. Like, did someone really do that? And the answer is usually yes, pretty much. So we had to make a rule for it.
Right. I tell people all the time, every rule has a name.
Pretty much.
So basically, what they're going to do is where it is seated, they're actually going to take this, and this is actually painter's tape. We use spike tape, but it's actually a little too sticky. This is just painter's tape, so it's really thin, and it goes around where it is seated so that when you come to the ring, we will see that you have had yours inspected and that you haven't moved it or tried to sneak it out a couple extra inches or something like that, because that also has a name. So it will be marked this year. And then if you're fighting with something that's over 59 inches, that requires two hands on at all times, we'll actually mark your hilt also somewhere, so that the director in the ring can actually see that you're supposed to keep two hands on at all times, because it's over the 59-inch requirement. So that's basically gear inspection. I hope that it actually goes really fast. It really matters when you check in. There are popular times that sometimes everybody shows up and everybody wants to be gear inspected. But I know that we did this process at the Florida Cup with the paper and this different stations, and it moved very quickly. We got 35 fighters registered in an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. So it was really quick for 45 fighters, an hour and 15 minutes. And we have the whole day. So I think we'll be okay in general, but yeah. And then the third part is just basically an overview of the code of conduct. Don't be a jerk. That's what it says, really. It says, don't be a jerk. And if you are a jerk, there's a penalty. You get a warning, and then you get a yellow card and a red card, and then we kick you out, which has never happened. But we have it in case it ever does.
Pretty much. I mean, that's there. If someone gets thrown out, it'll probably be Mark. Um, um, anyway, there's a couple questions here. I think this is more of a generic question, but we can kind of go over the basics. Kenneth asks, what are the requirements on an official TSL saber? So the basics are. Wow, I'm bad. You have it right in front of you, so you're gonna have
I
to tell me the
did.
measurements because I'm gonna. No, I mean the actual measurement specifications. I know we allow almost
Oh,
any size hilt up to 16 inches,
up to
and I know
16
that.
hilt, and then it is 21 to 39 in blade length for an overall total measurement of 51.
Okay,
All
yeah,
right.
and then it's 35 inches from the blade, 35 to 39 inches from the emitter is what's allowed. So,
Right.
for example,
And you can
16
have as low
inch.
as 21 if you were doing something super short because you just like that life, but that's not my life. I like Reach's life.
Yeah, you're not gonna win if someone can come in and win. Everybody that says they can win has never come in and win. I just want to
One.
put that out there, huh?
Nothing.
Like nobody's ever won. I don't even think anyone's ever placed with a shorter say. And granted, I'm not talking like 4 inches or something like that. I'm talking like a 21 inch hilt or blade with a standard hilt, whatever, 10 to 12 inches. I don't think anyone's come in. And if you can, bring it. You will not win. You will not win. I'm just going to say it right now. You will not win. I'll make sure you don't win. Only in the context of only in the context of if I'm
You will
fighting
pick
you,
your
I will
butt.
make sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's the
There's only one person who has ever shown me that reach can be manipulated. And I went against. I did a pike against just short saber, right? Two short sabers with a Filipino martial arts grandmaster. That was the only time that someone ever was able to get inside my distance with a pike. I'm talking. It's a little different, but they literally were able to. They literally knocked me over a little bit, then placed it, and then jumped and rolled and smacked me in the head. It was just literally
wow.
and just smacked me right in the head. And before I had a chance to even react to it. So,
It was not
anyway,
Speedy Cooper.
yeah.
Now, the only time I've ever seen something like that was Alan Block with daggers versus Charlie with a pike.
Yeah,
That didn't
we
go
don't talk
well
about
either.
we don't talk about that match.
I directed
Was
that
not a
match.
fun match. I tried to train him for that match, and he didn't listen. He never would have won, but he could have gotten more points if he had listened. So,
well, okay, so we're talking a lot about gear inspection. You've been a fighter for a long time in TSL, and you weren't always a director, right? So there were times, even directors actually have to go through the gear inspection process. So what is the number one thing that you would say to that person who took 10 minutes in line, like you just said to the CombatCon, like have all your forms on your phone screenshotted so you're ready to go? What is the thing that you would tell somebody who's waiting in line at TSL to do their gear inspection?
You should already be laying out your gear at home, making sure that everything is working. Everything is not like I looked at my shin guard just 2 days ago and they're cracked. I got to get new ones. It doesn't matter. So, they're just like hairline cracks, but that's in my opinion, I'm a director. I'm not going to allow somebody to fight in that. So, so that's the big thing. Lay out all your gear, lay it out, create a little, floor human and lay it all out and make sure all your blades are good. Like I realized I only had one pike blade. I had to order more from TCSS. I have enough time right now, so it should get here in like 2-3 days. Those things are really important. So you should be laying it out now. And then have a checklist. I create a checklist on my phone, just in the Notes app, and then I have it laid out. So when I leave my room, because I try not to take everything if I don't have to, because there's stuff that, like I have the jacket that I'm going to wear for exotics, and I have the jacket I'm going to wear for standard and everything like that. But there's other stuff that I will only need as it's supplies. You know what I mean? It's not really like something I need as far as like gear check. So I'm going to leave that stuff, but that will be packed in my normal gear bag. So leave those things, but have that checkbox ahead of time so you have everything that you need.
agree.
Make sure that your mask fits. If your mask doesn't fit, and Melody said about the director moving it, I actually prefer if they shake their head, because that's an even better indicator. Because it definitely, if you have a loose mask, I've seen some nasty waffle injuries. They don't happen as commonly in our sport because the blades slip, but it can still definitely happen if you have a loose mask. Not to mention also the rotational force in your head, so you're at a higher concussion risk. Should you take a hard shot, and you have a loose mask. So, not a major risk, but, there's risk, right? So we saw, just going to go to the chat here, Alicia said, thank God for golf bags with wheels. Robert said hi. And then the key is don't stay up too late Wednesday and have things by the door of your room ready to go early. That's another good, that's another good tip to have. So it's just making sure that you have everything laid out. When you go in line, that is not the time to ask the questions about the gear. Get everything checked, and if there is a question about something, they will ask it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We give them enough training to know that they will ask, or hold it to the end of your gear check. Because maybe what we can do is do 99% of your gear check and then say, oh, you have this special thing. Well, Melody's out right now. She'll be back in 10 minutes. So everything else is good. Let's just set you to the side and you're ready to go. That's just ways to save yourself time, to save everybody else time. It's not the time to have a conversation about someone's fight. I know we haven't seen everybody. I expect there's going to be like a Thursday morning hug-a-palooza. We have Patch-a-palooza on Sunday. I assume Thursday is going to be hug-a-palooza for some people, right? That's not the time for the reunion. If you're waiting in line and the fighter next to you, you're talking to them, great. Talk to them. Don't be talking to them during the gear inspection. Focus on the thing that's happening. Treat it like a trip to the DMV, but friendlier, right? You go in, you have everything you need. You have all the forms. You have everything filled out. You have the check filled out. You have a pen. You have a backup pen. You have all of these things ready to go. These are not things you actually need. I'm just saying in the context of the DMV. But you go in and you say, okay, I have everything I need, right? Because you don't want to get there and they're like, oh, you don't have form 78.5B. And then you're like, oh, I got to fill out that form. And they're like, oh, there's a 24-hour holding period for that form because we have to do this and this and this check. So if you have questions about your gear, you can ask them, whether it be in this chat or you can ask them in the group. We can answer some of those questions ahead of time. A lot of times those questions that people think that are super, super relevant aren't relevant, and they just take more time. And I don't mean aren't relevant. They're just not relevant to the moment. They can be answered. They can be answered beforehand. They can be answered after, but they're not relevant right then. Asking about pools, right? And where you are and when you fight and when you should report and when you should show up for line judging. These are all not things to ask at gear inspection. Gear inspection is for one thing, gear inspection. So making sure that, if
you're right.
So just making sure that that information will be given to you. And we're going to talk about that, but it's just making sure that those things are out of the way. Just, make it a,
sabers. Yeah. Aaron Riley loves you too, but if he's sitting there taking the time to do your saber and inspect it, and you still need to do your gear inspection closes at 7 and it's 6:55. You need to hurry and act like, time is of the essence, because it is.
I'll say if, Aaron Riley loves you no matter what, but he will love you more if gear inspection goes fast.
Yes.
So if you want him to love you more, you get it done fast.
Make his life easy.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when you say, do you want to hang out? He'll say, yes, I want to hang out, instead of, no, I'm super tired because gear inspection took 20 minutes a person and it took all day. So that's the big thing. Robert said here, listen to the advice of the top fighters. Yes, listen to me. I'm just going to be arrogant and egotistical for a second and say, listen to me. But I'm also one of the national fight directors. So it's just all of these things. There were so many little instances I can remember from TSL4 that just increased the time. It was and it wasn't even I don't even think when it was just a time where there was someone's checking in. Oh, we have this question. And then they walk all the way over to me at the media table. and then as another director, and then I answer that question, or I walk back and I check it out. So now not only has you've taken longer in line, you've also taken someone else away from a job that they need to do. So let's just try to those things, and I've kind of mentioned a bunch of times on my show. Anything you can plan in advance to take away a headache from yourself or take away a moment of stress for yourself, do that beforehand. Because if you do it beforehand, you won't be stressing that, I have to get a gorget now. Oh man, I got to go to Purple Heart or Grommet Leatherworks, or I'm like, these are sponsors. These are all people that sell gorgets. They may not have them there, but like making sure that stuff's there. We want to make sure that you have absolutely everything up and running perfectly. Like, don't if you have a question about if something's going to be approved, ask the question early, and we might say yes, bring it, and we'll have to look at it. Have your backup ready to go, because
Yes.
the last thing I'll say on gear inspection is, we
Don't make
want to
that
get in, we want
no, it's not true.
to get in, we want to get out, right? But in my opinion, if I'm running gear inspection, as much as I love everybody, I don't want to hear a sob story, because I can't do anything about it. There's
Right.
literally like if your stuff, it's your responsibility for your gear. I mean, I go to HEMA tournaments. Gear inspection is a top-down look. They say, "Are you wearing a cup?" They knock you with a stick to make sure you're wearing a cup. They check maybe your helmet, make sure there's no dents and everything. They might check one or two other things. They make sure your blade is not like all rusted out and it's going to break, and there's other problems like that. And that's it. That's what they do. We have a more rigorous gear inspection, mainly because we have less standards across. When I say less standards, I mean the type of gear we have. There's more restrictions in a HEMA tournament, so like you're limited really by what types of HEMA jackets you have and stuff like that. But here
Because
we
they're
allow
commercially
motocross jackets,
sold. Right.
lacrosse, hockey, all of that stuff is allowed. We have to be a little more rigorous, and it's just you know make sure that stuff is operating. And Robert said, make sure your sabers are charged. Yes, if you have backup batteries, you can have a backup battery, have chargers with you, have a backup solution maybe if you have to. If you're running, I hope nobody's running AAAs. I mean, I actually am going to be running AAAs in my Pike, mainly because I don't mind if it breaks, because it's a just an inexpensive saber, and Pikes just take a beating. But like, do that, have that extra stuff. Alicia said, put new batteries in the toolkit. So make sure that you have that stuff in advance, because again, we want to help everybody, but the problem
Right.
is that need to want to help you with your specific problem. As far as like, if it's Aaron, say, because he's running a lot of gear inspection, that takes away from the experience of every other person that needs to get gear inspected, because they have to help your issue that you could have handled in advance.
Right. Well, what I was
I'm
going to
being
say is, also last year, or TSL4, I had a female fighter who came to me. She did not bring a metal gorget, and this is before a lot of the other availability of different kinds of gorgets. Really, it was like you had to have basically the winter tree craft at that point in 2019. And you had to have a metal gorget to compete at the tournament, and she did not have one. She was fighting women's, but she was also fighting in the 50 and over. I was like, well, I'll need it back in women's, but I'll let you borrow it for the other. And I did, and I didn't even know her, but it just, kind of the community that we have. However, being that we're all coming back from a pandemic, I think the expectation should probably be that you're not going to be able to borrow anything on site. Like, it is unlikely that you're going to be able to get a piece of gear from someone that they're going to allow you to sweat into, and then even if you clean it, to give it to them, just because I think all of us are still a little tad bit at least cautious about that kind of body to body contact with a stranger at this point. So I think it would be important in gear inspection, like you were saying, to make sure that you have a backup, even if you think you're bringing something that's going to be approved, maybe a gorget that you made on your own at home at a Kydex because you think it'll be totally fine. You should probably still bring your winter tree craft if you still have it or whatever, because you want to make sure that you can participate after spending all the money to come to Vegas, right? So you should probably still bring it just as a backup to make sure that you're going to get approval, and then wear it if that's the one approved and not the one that you made at home if that's not approved.
Yeah, the homemade stuff, be very, very careful. We've seen some really wonderful homemade stuff that, is of great quality and has passed inspection, but we've seen some really duct tape together kind of stuff as well. And I don't mean that, figuratively. I mean that literally. We've seen some duct tape together stuff. I mean, so, and that's mainly for the gear, the gear and the saber as well. That's why, it needs to be assembled and working properly, because we don't want something to fall apart, in the middle of it. And then suddenly you take a shot there in that spot that's now unarmored or not holding properly, and then you're injured, and we don't want that. So we have been very fortunate that there have been, I don't think we've had any hospitalization injuries at TSL. Not that the people haven't been injured, but we've also not had people that they've been so injured that they had to, because of something that happened in a fight. I mean, I injured my shoulder before TSL3 and then I strained it worse, but that's my own damn fault. So that's not anything I would put on the fighters. There was nothing unsafe happening. So, but making sure your armor is fitting is very important, because things do happen. We neck shots aren't legal, but sure enough, some people, the way they fight, they want to make neck shots legal because they leave their necks wide open, and then they shoot up block a saber up into their neck or something like that. That has happened a lot.
And those things just happen, especially with us being out of a lot of people being out of practice and not being as rigorous with our training over the last 2 years necessarily. So I think that we need to be more cautious, because I think, the expectation is when you are say a runner, right? And you stop running for a while and you start running again, you're like, oh, I was doing 5 miles, no big deal. And then you're like, oh my God, this 5 miles is really difficult. So I think that having the expectations and being gentle with yourself and understanding those things will help reduce those kind of risk, and just really acknowledging that as a possibility for anybody who steps in the ring with you. Also, I'm just saying, just realize that, even if you've been training like crazy the whole time and have mad muscles and skill, not everybody had that opportunity or did that.
Not really.
I was going to talk real quick about, so when you go and you pick up your little piece of paper, this is actually how you can track. So when you have those questions oh, what pool am I in? Hey man, are you in the same pool as me? This is what you'll get. You'll get a badge. This is Tony's. He's going to love that I'm showing his. And it'll basically say what your name is. It'll say the number that you were assigned, what charter you're from, and then how you are volunteering for your community. So Tony is he's in the CIT program. He's part of the directing team. So that's what it'll say. And I don't have it yet, but on the back, it'll actually say everything that you volunteered for, all of your time commitments. And it'll say the pool that you were assigned to and what time that pool is happening. And then obviously, if you're around and you want a line judge, we'll have, yes, Tony, you're my favorite. That is the, yes. Then you'll also get this, so if you want more line judging hours because you're trying to become certified and you want to be a certified line judge, and you only signed up for a couple, but you really want to be more, hang out in the room when other tournaments are going on, because I assure you that somebody will not look at the back of their badge and they will forget that they were assigned a time to line judge, and you can pick up more times. Plus we've added another pool or another ring on Thursday during the 15 over tournament. So we actually need more line judges on Thursday during that time slot. So Thursday at 3 p.m., we actually still need line judges for that slot, because it's a new thing that we are opening up. So we didn't have that in the original assignment. So if you're looking for more, please show up. And
so what's happening at 2 p.m. on Thursday?
At 2 p.m. we're doing
piggyback off of that.
Yes, at 2 p.m. we're doing training for how to be a line judge. So if this is your very first time coming to TSL Nationals or International Annual Tournament and you've never line judged and maybe your charter doesn't really practice tournament style, or you're not, you're new to your charter and you've never done that, you'll have the opportunity to actually be taught by myself and probably other directors who can participate, David, yes, at that time, who will be showing you how to participate, what to look for, what all the hand call signs mean, so you can feel confident going in the ring and participating as a line judge, because really it's more training than most line judges get. So people definitely have.
The thing with that, to know that we're going to have set up is we're going to have 2 fighters that are going to fight, and we'll have people direct it and people can line judge and everything. But we're going to create some of those weird scenarios, some of those weird things that might say like, well, how would you call that? Why would it be called that way? Why would it be called this way? And as a line judge, not as a director, but like, there's those times where it's like, there's times where you didn't see it, but you heard it. Those times when something weird happens, whatever it may be, what you do in those scenarios. Because part of it is that the more you train to like see those things happening, the more in the moment, you're not like just standing there like a deer in headlights, just like, I don't know what to do. It's fun. Judge training is really fun in like in the HEMA, like when you're doing like a longsword thing, because someone will do some like they'll plan it. These fighters are planning it. They're setting this up, and they'll do some like crazy tackle, and then they'll like rip their mask off and just like do something obscene, like just to seem like they're over celebrating or something like that. And that's just a fun, weird thing that like. But how would you react to that as a judge? You know that's an illegal move. That they can't taunt their opponent like that. Right. They can't complain to a director and start yelling at them because of a call or something like that. So, but those are good things to train for, to know how to handle it.
Part of this program, this demo.
I mean, maybe I'll fight Jared. I don't know, but
yes,
yeah. But I have to fight later that day, so I don't necessarily want to be sweating too much. But yeah, that's next. That's something we want to do. So Alicia said about next year you do this for directing on Sunday. I expect people would volunteer as fighters. Yeah, I mean, directing is a very, very specific skill, and we've done. Melodie's done a wonderful job with the CIT program, doing that all remotely, which is difficult because I mean, some of the director training that I got was like from like going to workshops and things like that from like sport fencing prevos and people who have decades of experience. And they were very rigorous, and I was not really that good, but it took time and you get better at it. So that might be something we can try to do.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah. Oh, this is the other thing I was going to say. So this year we're doing lanyards on the badges, and you get to choose your level of huggingness. So like if I was wearing the red one, it would say, hey, I don't want to be hugged. Please stay 6 feet away. So that means red. And yellow is like, you can stand next to me and we can high five or elbow bump or whatever, but I don't feel like being hugged. And then green is, yes, please hug me. So I want to be hugged, all the hugs. So with
permission.
With permission, of course. Yes.
Regardless, yes, there must be permission associated with that. So just make sure you're asking, because like for me, like I'm probably going to wear a yellow, but I will probably hug people, but most people I'm not going to. Sorry. Right. So,
green is the best.
Tony's going to pick green just based on that. So I guess Tony is giving permission for anyone to hug him at any time, maybe with the exception of when he's like in an active fight.
Jared said Tony tackles.
There you go.
Yeah.
So so he's giving that and Robert's saying yellow. So it's it's preference, and that's the whole point, is we want you to be comfortable, and you don't have to feel pressured to. Yes, like when I fight a fighter in a finals, I probably want to hug them, but if they don't want to, it's fine. I don't have an issue just tapping sabers beforehand or something like that. So just find you can find you can help identify your level of comfort. So we talked about line judging, we talked about gear inspection. the badges,
badges,
volunteering. I mean, I could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, volunteering. That's a good one. So king of media, how do you want to talk about this year? You're getting production assistants, which is a new thing, which is amazing.
Yeah, so we have people who are, some of their volunteer time is going to be, helping out with media. It's kind of going to be like a floating job because, like, different things are going to happen, different needs are going to need to be filled. As far as, like, oh, hey, can you go check that to make sure it's still recording? Can you go turn that camera on and off? Things like that. Sometimes it's, can you operate the switcher? And just switch between the matches. When this match finishes, switch to another one, or you can leave it for the next match depending what's next. That's a lot of things. Sometimes for some people, that I don't know, the production assistant specifically is going to be commentary. Most likely, if I'm guessing, because the people running it are the media, myself, Joe Pavlenko, and Jason Knight, who's also from Northern California. But Joe and I have both, been on camera and done commentary, sort of. So I assume there's going to be times where, if we're not doing anything else, and hey, there's no commentary, and we want someone to talk about this fight that's going on, we might need to be the ones to step on, or production assistant might be like, hey, can you go talk to somebody that can you go talk to Melodie? She's got 10 minutes. Can she sit down and do commentary for, Jared's fight? I know you're probably being his corner, but I'm just giving an example. Yeah, so Eamon's fight. There you go.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So exactly. That's what we're trying to do with the media. So we have different people scheduled for different blocks of time just to help out, because it's always good to have that extra set of hands. So, in my opinion, the worst thing that can happen with media is that we don't need you, and either A, you can sit around and just watch the fights and stuff like that, or we can shift you over to line judging if you're comfortable with that, or running the table or something like that. So, like, there's going to be something to do for anybody that is media, and most likely I'm going to keep people focused on media, because in my opinion, if there's nothing for them to do, I'd rather show them how to do something, so they can take knowledge that we're using to make this production successful, and they can take it to their charter. So when their charter does a tournament, they can remember certain techniques and certain practices that led to success. That not everybody's going to be like a media expert by the end of this, but I'm hoping that we can at least help and pass it on to the charters as best we can, because it is difficult for me to, like, explain remotely how certain things work with live streams and all this stuff. But I can sure as heck explain it when it's kind of running, and it's kind of running on autopilot right now. And okay, I only have to do this one thing, and it's like, okay, I can start explaining, like, how everything's set up, and this is kind of the equipment that we're running, and all that kind of stuff.
It's a great opportunity for anybody who really wants to, really do more underground matches, or really take if they are hosting CS matches in their local area and they're doing CS tournaments or starting to do that. It really is a great opportunity to really hone their skills, and especially if they don't have someone who's really like media savvy in their charter, they can, if you're helping out with production assistant, you can definitely, probably get a better understanding, so that even when you go back to your home charter, you can, have a better way of contacting and speaking about, like, hey, remember when we did this thing at TSL4? What was that thing we did exactly? I don't remember that particular thing, but I remember what it did, sort of. At least it'll give you some ways that you can kind of have some context to put it into, and be able to have a conversation with part of the media team experts that we have for TSL that can help you when you're doing those things at your home charter. So awesome. I just think it's really valuable. That's really great that we've had so much volunteering. I tell people all the time, like, I learned at a pretty young age that the best way to make friends and to really understand the community that you're in when you go to an event like this is to volunteer. Like I went to a retreat or something, and I couldn't pay for it when I went. I was super young, and I was like, I don't know, like 19 or 20, and I couldn't really pay. And they're like, well, if you volunteer all weekend, you serve all the meals, like then you can come for free. And I was like, okay, great. Because free was good then. And and so I volunteered all my whole time there basically in serving meals and just being able to attend a couple of classes. And it was a great experience though, because people got used to seeing me, they recognized me. So when I went to the class, I didn't have to sit by myself. These are the people who I had just served breakfast to, or I just served lunch to. I just made their coffee. Like, you know, they made a connection with me. And so I wasn't alone anymore. When I you know, was able to help people, I was able to build a connection with them that when we went off to do other things on our social time or during those workshops, I was able to, you know, make that connection and actually make friends that way. So I tell people all the time, the best way that you can really, you know, become part of the TSL community is volunteering. Like, it just matters what you want. If you're going to go to CombatCon and you want to really make connections with people that you see online all the time and are doing all of these shows, then the best way is to, you know, make your connection by volunteering, being part of the ring, being part of the community. If your focus is on training, then maybe you're going to focus more on doing the classes and just kind of coming in and doing what you have to do as far as your volunteering and your tournament. But, you know, it just matters what is your priority as far as that. But I always found volunteering to be super great at making friends. Tony said something about that.
He said, here I'll say, my first TSL event I helped by being a table judge. I didn't even fight. So I'm putting them up so people can read them as they're going by. But yeah, and you can learn a lot by line judging. Yeah, I mean, I will say, you know, it's also a way to get more, you know, it's obviously a way to get better at it, you know, whatever you're doing, whether it's working with media team, line judging, directing, you get better at it with that experience. You make small mistakes and you get them corrected. You know, you learn how to work with different directors. That different directors prefer there's certain little habits that are different between directors and how they call it. So you learn how to work with that. I mean, I've done that. I go to an event called SoCal Sword Fight. I've gone for like 2 years now. Not counting 2020, there was one because it was literally a month before. It was February. So I went 2019 and 2020, and I spent most of the weekend line judging everything. You know, different weapons I never actually would ever fight myself. And I learned a lot, and there was a lot of different you know, how directors operated, and it was really unique experience. But the one thing is then first if you're good at it, they remember who you are. And they know to point you out as like, this is a good person. They know what they're doing. You know, but I've also, you know, gotten compliments from fighters. Thank you for being the one judge to see that one hit that I got. And then, you know, and then the director took that point and nobody else saw anything. So like, you know, you get that, you know, you get that scenarios, you know, where it's like, it's a good thing. And this is all after, obviously no one's telling me, oh, thanks for recognizing that hit for me. Here's $5. No, this is just like after the event or after, you know, after everything, you know, and they're like, hey, thank you. I thought that was a really good hit, but you know, nobody else saw it, but you had the angle and you saw it. So just things like that are really great ways to, it's just a good way to get to know people, especially if you're new to the organization. This is your first national tournament. You're coming with maybe one, maybe two people from your charter. You know, if you want people, if you're concerned that you're not going to have people to go to dinner with, right? Volunteer and talk to those people, because I guarantee if you don't have at least one group that you can go to dinner with, the community is not doing their job. Like, you know, in my opinion, and which happens to me a lot, is that there is fear of missing out because you went to one thing and then this thing happened or this thing happened or three things happening, which is fine because that's how it works with the, you know, there's not enough, you can't meet with everybody. So, but it's a great thing. And then you can start to figure out your little circle and everything. So I'm just going to go through some of these comments real quick. Pretty sure I'll just be line judging and running a table. Won't lie, media skills are pretty weak. That's okay. It doesn't matter.
Because she signed up to be helped out with him, and I'll email her.
It's all good. We'll be fine.
Okay.
I don't think people say media skills are weak, but there's the one thing about media is that you can literally do a job that is like, this is the one thing I need you to do. It's like, make sure that this thing is happening. And if it does this, it's like, I'm going to use an example. It's like if you're the engineer on Smuggler's Run on the Millennium Falcon ride at Disney World and Disneyland. The engineer is literally, you're sitting there and nothing happens, right? And then when you start hitting things, these lights start flashing. You got to flick the lights real quick. That's kind of the thing. When something you do one specific job. You're not the pilot. You're not doing all these. It's like, that's what we need you to do, and that's not a difficult thing to learn and train with. So, let's see. Tony said you can learn a lot, but works by watching. I mean, that's how I gain a lot of insight. Correct. Whether that's watching line judging, directing, the media team. Now, I will say, please, if you're not helping on the media team, please don't watch us work for like long periods of time. If you look over and you're watching for a minute or two, no big deal. But like, just I don't know. I get self-conscious about it. I'm like, why are you watching me produce something else for people to watch? You know what I mean? I get it's like fascinating, but like, ask me later. Please ask me later. If you take the line judging positions in view of the cameras, you can get some good live stream time. That's true. Yeah. You can either be the judge that everybody sees your butt, or they can see the front of you as well. So just keep that in mind as well. So there's going to be, if you like your backside better than your front, keep that in mind when you choose your line judging side.
I got this for you.
Oh, we got caution tape now?
Yeah, to put so people don't do that.
So people don't step directly in front of the camera. So that's good. There will be no-go zones of like little areas here where like we say, if you're the line judge on this side, just don't stand here forever. If you're there for a second, it's no big deal, but like stand over here. Like, I very rarely have I seen where if you can't be within a little section, that you will miss a call. And then so going back to the comments, Robert said he got the line judge at Sun Crusher a couple years back, but didn't fight, and it was awesome. And I was still dressed like I was ready to fight. It was awesome. Alicia's, I did volunteer to line judge. Yes, I know it's something I can do. Not mentally ready to direct yet. So,
really quickly, let me just address the whole directing thing. So. There are 3 national directors right now. So it's just currently Aaron, David, and myself. And then there are consulars. They are ring directors. In the rules, it's called ring director. Anybody who's in that position is a ring director. But the consular are people who have gone through a specific training program as part of the CIT program, Counselors in Training. And so a full charge consular is somebody who has accomplished that program, who has successfully completed it, which involves 8 lessons online and discussions, and then 75 experience credits. So they do that through doing CS matches. And a lot of them you'll actually see doing during this tournament. There are CITs who are coming. They've done all the training. They've done all their lessons over this, because it's usually a 1-year program for most people. But then, of course, COVID shut everything down. So most people have accomplished all of their lessons, and their practical experience, on-site experience is done in actual training, which is going to happen a lot for a lot of people at TSL annual, because they can get the most amount of hours there. So if you're interested in becoming a CIT, traditionally, most of our graduations happen, for the CITs after nationals, because they do most of their hours there, and they apply to become a full charge consular. And then after that, usually in January, I restart the application process, or before January, and then in January we restart again. So you do all of your classes from January to August, and you do your experience usually in July, August at nationals, and then you become a full charge consular, hopefully. That is the plan. So if you're interested in becoming a full charge consular, I will open up the application process again, probably after, if we do Sun Crusher, which is Veterans Day weekend, and then I'll take applications, and then that's it. And then you can become a full charge consular in training program if you're interested. But anyway, so you'll see a lot of them at this event. They're there. They're usually in pairs of 2, and I'm not going to tell you all of their names, but there's a lot of great people who are giving up hours and hours and hours of their time to make sure the tournament happens. And I have to say, I was going to say this earlier when you were talking about your media team, with all their production assistants, like I think back to TSL3 and TSL4 that I was, you know, able to be a part of, and was really early on in my career of TSL. And you know, people don't know, but Aaron Riley did all of TSL1 and all of TSL2 entirely on his own. Like, I was the second director after Aaron, and he brought me on. And I think at TSL3 we also had Kay. I think you joined at TSL4 before TSL4,
Yep.
obviously.
Yeah, before TSL4, but yeah, at 4 for a national tournament.
Right. And also Tom. And then, so, you know, there's this whole process of the evolution of these tournaments getting larger and larger, and Aaron obviously needing to, you know, build a team of his own. And now he's able to actually participate at annual tournament. This is his first year of being able to actually fight a tournament after all the years of service. So thank you, Aaron, if you happen to be watching this or watching it later. But I'm super excited to have all of these CITs, all of these counselors in training, and the counselors who are full charge counselors coming out to really represent like just the growth, you know, of how we've been able to establish these amazing teams and volunteers who do so much for the community, who really support us so that we can have this huge tournament and have all these, you know, all these different exotics and women's and 15 over. And then next year, we're even actually adding 2 new tournaments, which we're not going to talk about yet, but we are adding 2 more tournaments. So it'll be even huger, and we'll even be more volunteers. Is that a word, huger?
Grandiose. I don't know.
Grandiose.
But yeah, there was one more thing about the camera, as Tony said. You don't enjoy people sitting directly in front of the camera. I'm gonna say one thing in relation to that. There's gonna be cameras on stands, and we're gonna kind of rope them off. But if you go near a camera, someone's gonna yell at you. I only say this because as TSL4, I had cameras set up for recording stuff. It wasn't live streaming, but you know, in this case, we are going to be live streaming from all our cameras. I had people who bumped my camera stand because they were hanging out on the opposite side, you know, on the table side of things. And I could name those people, but I will not, because they're on camera as they bumped into it. And then they look up at it, and it's like they look all dumb on camera. And I know who those people are, and I won't call them out. And I won't even tell them personally. I will just forever hold a grudge against them that, you know, fortunately, it's nothing that like completely destroyed the shot. They didn't bump it over completely. They didn't break anything. It was just like they bumped it and knocked it off, you know. So, you know, I just, with that gear being out, you know, we got to just be very careful and very mindful about what we're doing. So, but yeah, as far as the volunteer thing, it is great that we're able to create this core of volunteers. I mean, the one thing we have to understand is nobody is being paid for this, you know. Pretty much every dollar that, you know, that TSL brings in goes back to producing all of this stuff. You know, and that's still probably a negative at that point. If you put in the stuff that other people, you know, have to put in personally to get this up and running. So, I mean, like all the gear, I mean, I have my gear, there's other, Jason and Joe, they're all bringing like, you know, production gear. That's all our personal stuff. We're not, you know, it's not TSL gear that we bought or anything like that. So we want to make sure that people understand that like that's why it's a volunteer organization. So we want to have as many people volunteering, and then we should incorporate that into our culture as we do, because we want to make sure that people can experience, you know, the things that we want, like fighting, you know, in those moments. You know, I want to fight. You know, right now I want to fight. I have no urge to not want to fight at all. You know, there is like, if you told me I couldn't fight, I will probably fight you right there. To convince you that I should fight, even though that's not a good way to convince you. So just like, you know, like, but I still want to help out. I want to make sure that we have a decent product. I want to make sure that the live stream is working, that the people who can attend can, you know, can experience, you know, experience the culture of TSL, even if it's from, you know, the comfort of their couch, so, or their phone or whatever. So, that I want to make sure that, you know, we are all going to have a great weekend, whether you're there or not. So, however you can volunteer. I mean, things you can do. what I will say is, if you're staying at home, how can you help from home? One way you can help from home is, you can get a CombatCon virtual pass and help out CombatCon, because they are our host, and we wouldn't be able to do the tournament at the scale that we do it without CombatCon support. You can support the sponsors, whether it be the TSL5 sponsors that we have, or whether it be the CombatCon sponsors. Those are all, people that you should support because they're supporting that organization. And on top of that, something that I will ask that people do, if you're watching and people come in and they say, hey, what is this? This is amazing. I want to be involved. Be the person that comments on that. Jacob Page was that person for us. If you go back to TSL videos over the years, all of the major TSL videos, he was there saying, hey, if you're interested, you can go here and you can find out more. Hey, if you're interested, and like he was interacting. So be that person if you're not able to be there in person, or if you're back in your hotel room and you're watching the stream, be that person. So, and then also be that person in the room, that person that walks in from CombatCon and be like, what is this? You have lightsaber, LED saber fighting happening here. I don't know what's going on. And you can be that person, be that ambassador for the community, because that's how we grow. You never know who that person who discovers us randomly on YouTube or Facebook, the person that, just pops into the room at CombatCon. You never know what impact they're going to have on the community. I mean, you can point to so many people that have had major impacts on this community that have come in on that. Literally, I like this. I want to be involved with this. And then they've had huge ripples throughout the community. So, so I sorry for I am good at these monologues because I've done so much talking to myself through. So I'm sorry to speak so much in relation to what, compared to you. I repost and repost, just kind of, that's literally what it is. I talk for, 2 hours about, different techniques and questions and stuff like that. So it's just, I've gotten the ability to wax poetic forever. I can do it. So Chris said, I want to fight all the people. Yes, I do want to fight all the people. I want to fight all of them and beat all the people. So that is the goal. So, Tony is challenging Tony Tripp is challenging Tony Safiati's yelling skills. Let's see.
Do we have 3 Tonys?
I can make myself heard over large areas. We have 3?
Yeah.
Who's the third one?
California. Tony Jr. Tony.
Zaldua.
Zaldua, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, forgot he was So yeah, it looks like we have lots of people that can yell. We have cursing in Spanish from Chris. Tony Safiati doesn't curse; he enhances his sentences. He's using colorful metaphors. And then Alan has said, Alan, 2-time TSL champ, TSL tournament champion, has said we need a battle of the Tonys. So, we need a battle of the Tonys, and then Alan losing the title to me. That's what we need. So I'll lay this one thing out, and I will just go on this slight sidebar. If you look at where I've placed in TSL, I am forever a bridesmaid, never a bride. I have come in second in exotics at TSL2. I came in third in standard at TSL3. I came in second in tag and standard at TSL4. So it is my time to at least have a belt outside of the tag belt, but it is my time to win a tournament division. So he says he's going to be a three-time champ soon. So we'll see. Are
you saying challenge accepted?
Challenge accepted. If someone knocks him off beforehand, I'm not going to complain. So because then I'll just knock off that person. So that's all good for me. Sounds like a good time to battle the Tonys. All Tonys at TSL meet at one point and fight till one remains. Yeah, maybe we should do the triple threat match with the Tonys when we film Underground
on Sunday.
Yeah, we can do the
Sunday.
Tony. You know, that's like what, Rochelle.
I was thinking Highlander.
Oh,
There can
okay,
be
yeah.
one. Only
Alan's
one
like, you can
Tony.
take the exotics. Yeah, but the thing is I want to be the first person to hold 3 belts in TSL. 3 belts. That's what I need. 3 belts. Even if it's not the world championship belt, that's okay. 3 belts. That's the goal. If anyone watches AEW, I want to be Kenny Omega. He's the collector. He has 4 belts. I'm just saying. Anyway,
Oh,
I'm,
Alan says that Tony should make a tag team. That's
yeah, called TNT. So Tony Saffiati, Tony Tripp, Tony Zaldua. You'll need to figure that out. Who's going to be? Yeah, a future
we
underground
should
fight.
have on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday.
See, Tony says a future underground fight. Here's something that is very, very fun and interesting. So one thing we're going to do differently on Sunday. Yes, we're going to have time for them to fight, get their patches, do all the sparring, all the stuff they want to do there. But in the morning, we have a couple hours set aside for underground filming. So we're going to try to get a bunch of underground matches filmed on Sunday morning, so we can have some more, stuff for more future underground. So we have a little bit more in the pipe, in the not the pipe,
In the pipe. In the pipe.
pipe. Thank you. Yeah. I'm just locked in on winning exotics, so in the pike is just what I'm going to say. But yeah, we're going to be filming. So what I'll say is, we're not going to be able to get everybody that wants to film in underground. We want to make sure that people that haven't filmed underground get the opportunity. We want people that have volunteered to get the opportunity. But we've done a triple threat match once in underground. If we want to do that, we could do something along those lines. So we have a rule set that Wisconsin drafted up for it. So that's a possibility. I will put
And
it
Seth
on.
directed that, and he will actually be there, so he could do that again.
Yeah. So I will say it's up to Tony Saffiati and Tony Tripp to convince Tony Zaldua to be involved in that. So I'm not going to wrangle you for that. You need to wrangle. If you want to do that, you want to do the second triple threat, that I will gladly accommodate that. We could accommodate that as one of the matches, because at the very least it has its selling power. So anyway,
I heard we're going to be experimenting.
You know about that, Melody. That was your idea. So that's after the underground. So what are they doing after the underground in addition to sparring?
In addition to sparring, anybody who wants to bring anything that is untested or unregulated sabers, like the broadswords or shields, or apparently a lightsaber mace that, yes, we're not doing them officially, but anybody who wants to, so remember how you've always had an idea, this should be part of TSL, and they're like, oh, we'll send us data and then maybe we'll consider it. Well, so on Sunday, we're going to be establishing a 2-hour time that you can come in, directors will be present, and you can show us your toys, show us how they work and fight a match with somebody, and we'll collect data on how it works. How accurate is it? How does it represent the culture and the fandom? Does it, at all? Or, is this more about a martial? So something like that. So sorry. Thank you for the show and tell. So yes. So show and tell. That's what we should call it. Show and tell. Show us your stuff. I remember TSL3, somebody brought in a scythe, it's like a pike. And
with
then
a curved saber on it.
With a big, but it went up and around like a scythe, he wanted to be the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, the hilt was basically one of the curved hilts attached to the extension, so that's what it was.
Yeah. So it's I don't think that's part of regulated exotics right now. But
we could test it.
You could bring that, and if you get a volunteer who's willing to take you in the ring, then you can show us whether or not it would be good to incorporate at a later date, and we can gather data that way.
So apparently we have a call for person on someone's shoulders fighting. I mean, Chris, if you're volunteering to hold somebody up, that's on you. That's on your back, and you're, if you've been working your core well enough. So
Who are you asking? Of course he
I
has
know
been.
that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
that, but I'm saying that to specifically, make him want to do that, make him want to do the crazy thing. I will not do it, but you know, we did do like wheelchair fighting, like kind of last at TSL4. I remember that. So, not that we have access to a wheelchair, but there could also be options for like chair fencing, which would be an accommodation for wheelchair fencing. That's another thing to test out. Just bring your ideas, within reason, obviously. Let no saber nunchucks. I'm just going to say saber nunchucks will never be in a TSL exotic. So let's just exclude that one from the pile now. So Robert will hold up Chris, and then Chris says he didn't hear a no. I didn't say no. You can do it. You just know that you're risking it. So, and then I'll ride and you feed the bird seed you love so much, and feed you the bird seed you love so much. So, and we got bad idea, but chairs maybe. We should joust. I don't know about jousting. Do not joust. Just because there are a lot of unarmored spots that will be subject to a hit, especially under here. That is usually open on the majority of armor. Nobody really ever beyond basic fabric padding ever pads below there. Ask me how much that hurts when you take a thrust directly to the underarm, because it hurts a lot. So Charlie gave me that one. So just keep that in mind. Like, that's not a fun thing. So let's not do jousting. I don't
As
mind
a
if we're.
woman, trust me, you get it under the arm, and you also get like boob grades. It's not great. It's awful.
Well, and like on top of that, like, I mean, just you take those weird hits and like it just, it's not fun. What I will also say is, if you're gonna do, like, if there's chairs, Alan said, what about armchair fencing? We can sit there and debate on the 7 forms. Alan, you can talk about whatever lore you want with people forever. But here's what I say. You need to convince Mark to talk about the 7 forms, and I want to see the two of you armchair fence about the 7 forms, because I want to see Mark what Mark thinks of it, and then what you think of it. Just like maybe Mark and I will discuss reverse grip. No, we won't. But that's a lot of there's a lot of options, but it gives you the ability to do that for 2 hours, where we're at least doing it with some form of safety. So if, like, if something looks super unsafe and we're like, nope, stop, this is not happening, we can stop it, as opposed to, say, you do it during the sparring time, which theoretically you could, right? But there's not someone watching you at that point. So let's just keep that in mind. Like,
Right.
do it when, make sure we're being safe.
Right, because the new rule set will be written. So a lot of people don't know what it takes to rewrite the rule set. It is a process that really starts in September, and it takes, it takes the whole team months and months and months to pore over the rule set based on input, based on data we've collected, based on research and reviews on whether or not anything needs to be updated. And that really happens from September until December. And then the actual writing process starts happening, between December and January. And then it has to be given out to all the different teams to look over and approve and, make all the spelling and grammar and whatever checks. And then it goes to the council to get final approval. And then it's finally released by our release date, which has always been traditionally the day before Aaron's birthday, which is also the day of Armageddon, March 31st. So Armageddon, the CS match, not anything else. So if you're looking to, like, I've heard forever that people want, this taken out of exotics or this added into exotics or whatever. This is really your opportunity to really have the national members really take a look at the things that you want to see incorporated, or you think there should be another division for, or something like that, and really get feedback about, your ideas in a real way that we can build our community together. So.
And I'll add a note to that, just to give people an idea of, like, two notes. One, if you see something that seems like, it could use tweaking or something like that during any time in the weekend, make a note, write it down. You will not remember it later. almost 100%. I, yeah, or you will not remember it as well. You will not remember the reason why you wrote, why you wanted to do, you thought this could be a change or a modification or something like that. So as those things come up, write them down, share them. Hey, share them on Sunday. That is the best time to share them. But, but I would say, yeah, something's happening here with everybody talking about their, Grievous quad wield. So I don't know. Regardless, they are allowed to discuss the 7 forms ad nauseum. But write down anything that you see happening that you think could be, I'll give the example of, and this is kind of a good example of observing something and taking it into action, but it's also an example of the amount of information and detail and study that we need to make a change that is a big, that could be a larger change or even a smaller change, depending on what the rule is. Guaranteed fight time did not exist, until the year 2019 for the TSL4 rule set. How did that come about? How did that come about? It was basically me noticing that there were people getting into situations where they were maybe 1 point down, or and basically they had 10 seconds to go, and the point ended, and or maybe they were tied and then it went to 1 point, right? And then they have 10 seconds to get that point to tie it up again, and then they're like, okay, in that 10 seconds the clock is running, and the time in which the judges are doing that, they're essentially losing their time, and they would have maybe 1 to 2 seconds to make a hit happen before it would happen. So I saw that. I saw a couple people that could have theoretically lost matches because of that. It had happened to me at previous CS events. It didn't happen to me at TSL3, but I noticed it. I literally went through the footage of all of them and calculated what the actual time that they were fighting between, the fight and hold, and the actual time of the fight, and found that everybody was fighting about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's what most people were, most fights took. There were variants to that, but in reality, there was no, the only disadvantage is that, it took a little more work of the timekeeper, right? And the fighters liked it a lot more. We tested it. We tried it a bunch of different meets and all around the country, and it ended up being implemented in the next year rule set. I was not a director at the time, so this is not me going and saying as a director, hey, I think we should change this, and I have like influence to make it happen faster. This is me coming as a member, a charter rep, saying, hey, I think we should do this. Here's literally a spreadsheet that I made that kind of breaks down, like, I don't know, I did like 15 or 20 fights, something like that. And here's why I think it should change. That was enough to get that put into action and then eventually be adopted. So that's and yes, there was forms of payment as well given out over the course of the year, mainly because I was trying to hope that would make sure Alan wouldn't win the following year, but it didn't happen. So because if you didn't know, Alan beat me at TSL3 in the semifinals and then beat me at TSL4 in the finals. So that's why that's why I set up guaranteed fight time. No, it's not, but it was something that fundamentally changed the way a TSL fight operates, and it required a lot of data and input and feedback to get to that point. So even that little tiny idea that you have, something happens to you in a fight, you have an idea, write it down. Think about how we would do that. So Alan's saying I need more time to fail. Maybe I do, and then I'll just go on and
because not that, but after TSL5, we're actually gonna go ahead and send out a survey. We sent one out after TSL3, and after TSL4, we sent out a survey that says explain how you like this or this. So even if you're just taking these notes and then you don't want to send your own message or something, there actually will be a survey that comes to all the fighters, to the emails, addresses that you have on file with us. And it will say, please go ahead and fill out this Google form and give us your feedback and let us know about your experience. And this is really a great place for you to really contribute all of those ideas that you have about what you thought went well, what you thought need improvement, because one of the things it even says in our rule set is that these are not the final rules, that all the rules are always a living and breathing thing. They always grow and they change as much as our organization does. So every time, just like every rule has a name, right? Every rule has a name. Every rule has something behind it. Like, it's because of these experiences that we shape and we grow the organization. So make sure that you do as David says, write it down in the moment.
Sorry. So I'm just talking trash with Alan, but I will also put Alan out as a good example of that as well. Through things he observed and what he wanted to do to create a continuous fighting rule set, led to, I think, like a 3-4 hour conversation on the phone with me talking about how we would develop that. And then we developed it over the course of like months, like a couple times a week, pretty much like fighting, trying different things, trying to see what worked. Until we, and that's not even a final, version. The Unity rule set is constantly changing. But that's an example of like, an alternative rule set that existed only because, something was observed and they wanted to do something differently. So, as Joe says, a few safety rules have Mark Carrico as reasons. The 2 hands on the pike rule is a Mark Carrico rule. The clavicle protection is a Mark Carrico rule. It was cemented by Mark. Mm-hmm. He put the stamp on it, essentially.
Yep.
We had already talked about it, but it was he put the stamp on it. But yeah, that is just something to keep in mind. Like we want to continue, and I don't have all the answers to how to make TSL great. Melodie doesn't have all the answers. Charlie, everybody, right? We might have a couple good things that we can bring into it. And we might have a good answer at some time or another. But we have 20 million things to do at TSL5. But we can't be observing how a fight is operating, or if there's a certain, like, at every moment, right? We can't be everywhere at once. So using your own independence and looking at things, you can maybe identify an issue. That doesn't mean you have to necessarily have the solution either. Sometimes you can just say, like, here is something I observed, and that's it. And that helps us, figure out what we want to do. So no subas on, well, pikes is one of mine too. Actually, I would have argued that existed as a problem beforehand, but I think it was already being talked about before Mark cemented that one too. But either way, that I just want to encourage everyone to help the community grow. Volunteering, giving back. Last thing we'll say about volunteering is that you have a schedule for when you're scheduled to volunteer. That is the minimum you are expected to do. You can volunteer the whole weekend if you want, right? Mm-hmm. So you just keep that in mind. There's nothing stopping you from, if you're, say, on media, like, being around, unless I tell you to go do something else. I'm just, but that's, let Mark have this. Don't I have enough? No, Joe, I don't have a championship yet. So, a tournament championship yet. So, no. Question is, what weird rules will Mark make this year? I don't know. We'll see. So, but anyway,
the
volunteer
world wants to know.
Volunteer more than you're required to. That is what's going to make the event better for everybody, and that's what we're going to do. We want to try to make the best thing possible, and if you can make everybody else's everything run a little bit smoother by helping out, that is so much better. If we don't have to hunt down line judges or directors or table judges or whatever, that is something we will gladly appreciate. If I'm not having to sit behind the whole thing running the media the whole time, by myself, and then occasionally, and then swapping in Joe, and Jason, and that's the only people that can do that. I will appreciate the break, because I still have to fight and do all these other things. So Just
well, I want to
know,
thank you for coming on Directors Corners. We've talked about the gear check-in process. We've talked about community and volunteerism and all the things that will make TSL grow as a community together. We talked about Sunday and how it will be for all the newest and greatest ideas that you have, as well as for filming underground matches. So if you're interested in doing that, make sure you let somebody know throughout the weekend. We'll probably have a sign-up list to make sure that we can get everybody scheduled when they want to go. And yeah, I think we actually covered a lot of stuff tonight. Way more than this is really good.
One thing, this is a complete a different thing, but what's the food policy so people know?
Okay, so
the room, because it's very specific.
It is very specific. You can have individualized stuff. So if you like bring in, your Nutri-Grain bar or your Gatorade or your bottled water or your, I don't know, your sandwich that you made in your room, whatever, that's fine. You can do that individual, because last year it was absolutely no food on the floor. Everybody was hiding it and like drinking out of their bag and stuff. So they were, because it's not don't get caught, Joe. You can have all your personalized things. You'll have a reminder on the back of your badge that says, please, all your trash, it's like when you go camping, don't leave it there. Apparently there are piles of overflowing trash as we left the room last year. So don't do that. Take the trash with you. And
Look
then
up leave no trace. That's what we want. We don't even want to know that you even had a gear bag there. Like, I don't want to see anything on the floor, like take everything. And if you see trash, like just bring like a plastic like shopping bag and make that your like trash for the day. And then maybe if there's some trash that's like a piece of tape or something like that, oh, it's on the floor, I'm just going to put it in. I'm going to be the nice guy and do that. So
yeah, David says it's because he had to do all of that on Sunday by himself.
Yeah. So don't. Chris,
no 4-course meal from Hell's Kitchen.
It's only a 3-course meal at Hell's Kitchen, actually. So.
True, but I will also say that. You can't bring, and that's why we're actually doing mandatory lunches. So like last time, TSL4 was a slog as far as like as a director. Yeah. I was in the ring from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Saturday when we finished, and there was no lunch break because we just had so many pools and so many people to get through. And there was no opportunity. So this year, we are definitely taking a mandatory lunch. And this mandatory lunch, like the room will pretty much be closed. There won't be a director available. We will leave during that time to go do our own personal needs, like eating or using the bathroom, which we didn't really get a chance to do at TSL4. So, you should also do that. There's going to be a deal with Carlos and Charlie's. Yes. You can buy it on their website now. Actually, I just looked the other day. It is actually live on their registration. You scroll all the way to the bottom, and it's like a $22 pass where they have the food ready for you, and it's like a 4-course meal from Carlos and Charlie's. I had some kind of appetizer, and this Carlos and Charlie's is like a Mexican restaurant. So I think you can look at the different options, but it's like ready to go. They know you're coming. It's $22. They give you like the pass, and then you just go down there. Your food is ready. The tip is not included in the pass. So if you want to be kind, throw in, a couple bucks, but it'll be ready to go. So yes, I'm doing an ad, Joe, but if you want something very quick and easy, you can do that. Now, if you have a wonderful room like David's where it has like a kitchen and all of those things, you can go back to your room and probably make a full on, Hell's Kitchen worthy dinner or something. Or
you can definitely do that. I only have that room because I'm traveling with 2 children, my wife, and my in-laws. So let's just keep that in mind, that there's there's 6 of us and we can't fit in a flamingo room. So that's the main reason. But it's that's at the Hilton Grand Vacations, which is attached to the Flamingo property. But the other thing to keep in mind is don't go to Carlos and Charlie's and expect to bring that back to the floor. Okay.
Oh yeah. No.
None of that. Don't bring your coffee, that you buy at the coffee bar, the one that's like right near the front desk. I don't remember its name, but like, don't do that. Don't bring that back up. Like none of that, especially because of spills and all that kind of stuff. But like, if you
I
Like,
think they
just
actually are allowing coffee. They didn't say no coffee, and someone actually asked
no,
me
no,
that.
no. I just, in my opinion, if you're gonna bring coffee, you have your own mug that is a sealed mug that you can seal. That if it gets, if I kick it across the room, nothing's coming out of that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So like, let's, keep that in mind with anything you bring in. That, like, even if you're making it yourself, don't bring a salad. Um, don't bring a salad on the floor or something like that. It's something that's like a sandwich that I can quickly just eat. It doesn't make a big mess and that kind of stuff. I could talk for an hour about nutrition for tournaments. I actually talked to a dietitian a couple years back about the best things you can do for kind of a tournament on that, but that's another show. That's another time. So, but yeah, I just wanted to get that food policy stuff so people are aware, so they don't, again, bring their, 3 or 4 course meal and, don't eat Hell's Kitchen on a tournament day. Eat Hell's Kitchen like before or after, just so you're not like, because don't destroy, don't destroy your body when you're doing that. It's great food, but geez. So I'm not against. Now Joe's saying I'm against leafy greens. I eat like spinach at like every single meal, right? Like, like I have spinach for breakfast. I have salad for lunch. Like, I go nuts on
Wow.
that stuff. Oh yeah, no. I gotta stay healthy, man.
I don't eat breakfast, but if I did, that's a great option.
Well, I'm on a my diet is allow certain things, so it's like I have a slightly fancy breakfast. It's not that fancy, but it's just sautéed spinach takes like 5 seconds to make on a stove,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't take long at all. So
I
anyway,
agree with Joe. Pixar didn't happen. That's my policy.
okay, but yeah, you're getting anywhere near my caffeine source. I mean, if you have a cup that I can kick across the room, I might do it. I just assume
If
somebody's
you bring me
caffeine source.
caffeine while I'm directing, you will make me happy. That's what I ask of people. People are like, "Can I get you anything?" I'm like, "Yes, go get me caffeine, and that will make me happy."
Yeah.
Usually,
There is water in the room. They'll just keep that
there
in mind.
is.
And they're really good about refilling it. They are quick about it. If it's not refilled within like 15, 20 minutes after being empty, we tell someone at CombatCon and they get on it right away. So, yeah, I think that's it. Joe is trying to just make this go on longer, which he does to Mark all the time. So I think we can leave it
but
there because I see that my wife is
5:30.
watching now, so she's upset about the timing on this taking so long. So I'm gonna pop off now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
So,
bed now.
so everybody take care. We'll see you. We'll see you next. Are we doing one next week?
There is one next week. It's actually supposed to be Jared doing like the road to CombatCon from like TSL1 through as one of the 7 people who have ever attended all of the TSL annual tournaments ever. And so I don't know who his guests are, but I think he's going to have a couple of guests on that are, have been as well. So we'll see about that. And so, yeah, we have one last one because it's only 13 days until we see you all in person.
And we're not going live that week for any Quarant TV stuff that I'm aware of, unless Alec or Mark are going live Monday or Tuesday. So that's going to be, there will be nothing other than the streams coming out that week for the most part. So, all right, take care, have a good night, and United through Sabres.
United through Sabres. Good night.